It is smaller on the outside. Hello out there, I'm the oldest nerd. Today we're talking about episode 3 of Lower Decks called Temporal Edict. The Temporal Edict that they're talking about is the fact that the captain has decided that there's not enough work being done aboard the Cerritos. Now, without getting into any spoiler territory, really, it points out something that we've noticed a lot in The Next Generation, which is the fact that not a whole lot of work gets done. You see people walking down the corridors, you see a lot of people in 10 forward, you don't see a lot of people hard at work. And part of that was intentional. When The Next Generation was first put into production, Gene Roddenberry believed that by the 24th century, Starfleet ships would have what he called technology unchained, which is to say that you wouldn't have to so physically fly the ship as most things would be done automatically. The ship would clean itself. The ship mostly navigates itself with just a few things to set in. In fact, in a point, one of the episodes where Picard just punches in the course and the ship takes off with just him and Riker on board. So with the idea that not enough work is being done, the captain decides that there needs to be a lot of work done, and it leads to complications, which we'll save for your own watching later on. It all starts, though, with an idea of buffer time, and this is a term that they've used for the first time in Trek to describe something that Scotty always practiced. And it went back into the original series. I can't name episodes of it, but I know in the motion picture, when they were talking about getting the Enterprise ready for launch to intercept V'ger, that Commander Sonak said it would take at least 20 hours to make the ship ready. Kirk says 12. And even though Scotty complains that they can't do it in 12 hours, they do launch. In Wrath of Khan, as a ruse, Spock tells Kirk that it'll take 2 days to be able to beam them back to the ship, when in fact he's speaking in code and they're back in 2 hours. In Search for Spock, when the Enterprise comes back to space dock, Scotty says it'll take 8 weeks to get the ship ready to go back out, but since you don't have 8 weeks, we'll do it in 2. And that's when Kirk, for the first time, calls Scotty out. You multiply everything that you estimate by a factor of 5. And Scotty says, yes, how else would I be known as a miracle worker? In Relics, they bring that back up again, where the captain wants something out of Geordi, and Scotty says, how long will it really take? And Geordi, kind of not understanding, well, no, it's going to take that long. And he said, well, how are you going to be seen as a miracle worker if you don't pad out the amount of time? In this episode, the ensigns explain that what they do is nobody knows how long it takes to get anything done, so they overestimate it. So when they're finished with it early, they look good. So they pull this along and give it a name, buffer time. So it's kind of interesting that that this is kind of the B story of the week. Now, the A story has to do with meeting a new alien society, and there's a misunderstanding, and the first officer and Mariner are locked up in a cage while the rest of everybody is tied up to something and threatened with their life. And we have the usual trope from the original series of Kirk having to fight the monster. You will only get your crew released if you can beat up this great big creature like the lizard creature, for instance, in the first season, or in the various times like where they go to 20th century Rome. They have to compete against Flavius Maximus, things like this, and so they have Jack, our first officer, go shirtless, which was another Kirk thing, and use this kind of punch, which is in a real fight the most useless thing to do. But and they played it for laughs, using it several times to defeat this creature that's many times bigger than he is. So it was a good original series type of fight. Another little Easter egg they put in it is Great Bird. And this goes back to also the pre-production of the original series, where Gene Roddenberry was referred to as the Great Bird of the Galaxy. It was even mentioned once in the original series. Sulu says, "May gives a blessing based on the Great Bird of the Galaxy." So they bring this here. So that is, and there's one good line in there that won't give away any jokes. Rank means everything always. I thought that was a clever line, especially in context. We also have first cameo of an actual TNG character. I won't give that away. So what we have here is a pretty good episode. I think that it's enjoyable. We found out in an interview this week that Tawny Newsome, who plays the voice of Mariner, has been allowed to ad-lib a little bit in the recording sessions, and so some of the jokes, some of the remarks are Tawny Newsome's, and that's always a good thing, where they're able to go away from the script and kind of get into their character. Now, before we go, I want to say something also about the rumor, and I think that's all it is right now. It's on a very minor publication that's saying that CBS is undergoing a reorganization. Now, since CBS merged back with Paramount and became Viacom CBS, there has been a new CEO placed in, and there is some concern by the CEO, according to this unconfirmed source, that Star Trek isn't doing well enough. And however, Mike McMahon is doing such a good job with Lower Decks that he is going to be replacing Alex Kurtzman as the main executive producer for everything Star Trek. Now, I have no idea if this is accurate or not. Most likely that it isn't. Some people will write anything on the internet to get some attention. So, but I throw that out there, and if it turns out that it's true, you heard it here first. Meanwhile, I hope that you will subscribe if you have not already subscribed to this channel, and click the bell, or click on the bell, or do something so that you'll get notification when the next video comes your way. We would appreciate it a lot. And until next time, there must be a less awkward way to do this. Don't go far.